What if I told you that finding contractors who don't suck is actually very easy? Because you don't have to scroll through 100 garbage candidates, and you definitely don't need to read another ChatGPT application. You don't have to waste weeks on somebody who's gonna fail the first time you ask them to do literally anything. Because I've hired over 100 contractors for agency owners and helped them go from personally doing every client deliverable themselves at midnight to having a few solid contractors who can actually do their work for them, all while the agency owner focuses on growing the business. And so in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how we do just that. And this all starts with uncovering the real problem that's going on in your business.
So today we're going to get into the 5 steps that you need to take to actually find and hire a contractor for your agency. Starting with the first one, which is getting clarity on your business needs. Not just you feel like you have to hire a role, but getting understanding of the problem that we're solving for, because making a hire is a solution for your business, a bundle of problems that your business has. Let's get clear on that first. 2 is we take that bundle of business problems and we turn it, forget the idea of a job description. Just like if you run ads for clients, you also need to run ads for contractors and employees. We're going to do the same thing. So we're going to write your job advertisement so you can stand out in the sea of thousands of other open roles. Then once we take your job ads and we've written your job ads, we're going to post to LinkedIn, where in my opinion, LinkedIn has the highest qualified folks for your business. Then from those roles, our agency typically gets about 2,000 applicants a role. We had a hit role, an operations manager role, hit 3,800 a few weeks ago. It's a lot. We're going to filter through those pretty quickly to find the best folks for you. And then once we have the best folks, we'll then design an offer and hire them. So let's get into it. Okay. So one of the biggest problems that I see with clients who want us to recruit for them is they have a feeling of a role that they need, right? They may be overwhelmed, so they feel they need a project manager. They may feel like they can't sell more, and so they need an account manager. You can't hire in a feeling. We have to find the problem. And so the first step is figuring out which problems are we solving for. Because a job is just a bundle of tasks, right? I'm going to quote Sean Porty. If a job is just a bundle of tasks, or solutions said a different way, we need to understand which bundle they are. And so we have to figure out which problem we're solving. So as an example, do you have quality or delivery issues when it comes to client fulfillment? That's a problem. Are you, as the business owner, stuck in the weeds of delivery instead of selling? That's a problem. Is it projects? Are the projects running over, taking too long, missing deadlines, things falling through the cracks? Like, let's identify what the problem is so we can find a solution for those specific problems. That solution is going to be the role that we hire for. Now, another common thing is when people get lazy and don't come up with, don't clearly define what the problems are in the business. The typical response is, I just need an A player. The reason that hot take A players don't exist. The reason I say A players don't exist is because an A player for you might be a B player for someone else. So as an example, if we have one client who says, hey, I need someone who responds instantly, right away. That's a cultural fit for us. That's an A player for them. Great. We have another client who doesn't want to respond so quickly to the team. And so they need someone who will take the time to figure the stuff out on their own and come up with a very detailed, slowly thought out response instead of the quick fire iterative approach. Those are both great, but one's going to be a better fit for the company than the other. And so you have to figure out what are the needs that you have specifically, whether it's hard skills, soft skills, what type of solution are you looking for so we can find that solution instead of throwing your hands up in the air and saying, I have this feeling I need this role and I have a feeling I need an A player. Let's define what that is clearly. Cool. So when we go to define what an A player is, well, there's 3 buckets of things we're going to think about. One is, what's the kind of Personality fit. What are the soft skills we're looking for? Is there something in communicate, like how they communicate, like are they like how they like to approach work, their energy, etc. Um, that's going to differ based on a few things. One is your culture, the company culture you're trying to create, and the other is the specific role that you're hiring for. You may have one role that's going to need to be more client facing, which can be very different than a detail oriented role that's happening in the back. Those are two different A players. Two is experience level. So are you looking for someone who, said differently, do you need someone with more will or more skill? Do you need someone with 10 years experience who's done this and is bringing their exact solution to you? Or do you need to train someone in the way that you are doing your service? Lastly is the hard skills. Right? So if you think about the difference between experience and hard skills, experience is what have they done in the past. Hard skills is what do they know? What skills do they have? And there's a little overlap because you'll get hard skills because of experience, but they're slightly different. Now, one hot take here, you'll see the first line here, it says, hey, what specific tools and software do they know? Usually software is going to be more teachable. And I hate narrowing down the pool of potential candidates and fit for you on things that are easy to teach, because you may say someone doesn't know, I don't know, say you use Go High Level as your CRM, that's what we use. You wouldn't want to say, I need someone to know Go High Level. It's pretty easy to teach. I'd rather have someone focus on finding the smartest, most motivated, goal-oriented person and then teach them high level. That wins 9 times out of 10. So anyway, long way of saying be careful with what filters you add. The fewer filters, the better, because then, especially for kind of what we'll call less leadership-oriented roles, more entry-level roles, which we need a lot of volume for, a lot of talent to fit those roles. You want someone who's a fast learner, who's hungry, because most of those skills are teachable. And especially if you figure out how to teach one, like say account managers, if you figure out how to teach one account manager, you'll scale to 10 much easier than if you just bring on an account manager who brings their experience to someone else, and then you're just kind of mixing and matching that other person's culture with your culture. Anyway, long way of saying, focus on you'll have to think through what's the best soft skills you're looking for, what's the experience you're looking for, and what are the hard skills you're looking for as you're trying to hire someone. Okay, so here's the good news. You don't actually need to write your job descriptions anymore. ChatGPT can do that for you. And so in a sec, you'll see me do a live version. I'll take ChatGPT, just complain about my business needs to ChatGPT live, and have Chat spit out a job description.
So we are going to use ChatGPT to figure out the needs of the business, and we'll use my recruiting business as an example, and to figure out who we need to write the job description and fill the role. Now, so context on the business and maybe context through ChatGPT. I think we have plenty of demand, and we're more at this point delivery constrained, and so we'll need someone to help scale our delivery. Let's figure that out. Hey, Chat, I need you to help me write out a job description. So imagine you're a business therapist, that was a thing, and I'm going to complain to you about the work I'm struggling with. What I need you to do is I need you to ask me questions to understand what role that I need to hire for to solve this problem. It doesn't have to be anything intense. I just want you to eventually get to the point where we do 4 things. One is you're going to come up with the title of the job description. 2 is the job responsibilities that we need. 3 is the personality traits of the person that I'm looking for. And 4 is the skills and experiences that are either nice to have or must to have. So just ask me questions like you're a business therapist to understand the business problem until you feel like you're ready to write me the job description that's going to solve the problem for my business. Do you have any questions? Are you ready?
All right, got it. So I'll keep it simple, no big words or fancy fluff. I'm basically your business therapist here to figure out what's bugging you, and then we'll craft that job description together. So let's dive in. What kind of work problem is really giving you a headache right now? Tell me what's going on, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Great. So I have a staffing business, and we're getting a lot of demand. And so the challenge right now is fulfillment, actually fulfilling the roles. And so I think what we need, I think to solve the fulfillment problem, is we'll need more folks to deliver. And so whether that's what we got to figure out is whether that's more of a project manager type role or an account manager type role.
All right, I'm with you so far. So the big headache is that you've got plenty of demand coming in, and now you're hitting a bottleneck on actually delivering and fulfilling those roles for clients. So it's kind of a question of, do you need someone who's more like a project manager who's going to oversee the whole fulfillment process, or do you need someone more like an account manager who's going to be that client-facing person making sure everyone's happy? Let me ask you a bit more to pin it down. When you think about where things are getting stuck, like, is the bigger pain point that you need someone to organize and coordinate the internal workflow so things get delivered on time? Or is it more that you need someone to keep the clients in the loop and handle that relationship side so they feel taken care of? Tell me a bit about where the real pressure point is.
So the way we're structured right now is that we have a bit of a hybrid role with that. We do, each account manager also does the delivery, and so we have everyone do things in Asana. They kind of project manage, in air quotes, their own tasks. But then the projects that they manage, they build the relationships with the client and help actually deliver the results.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So right now you've got these hybrid folks who are juggling both. They're sort of doing their own project management in Asana, and they're also the face to the client. So the pressure point is probably that as demand ramps up, those same people are now spread a bit thin doing both jobs. So here's the logic. If the main strain is that these hybrid account managers are doing double duty and you just need to lighten that load, we can either carve out a role that's more purely about project coordination to take that off their plate, or we could carve out a role that's more client-focused if that's where the pinch is. But from what you're saying, it sounds like you might be leaning toward just someone to help take that delivery coordination load off so your account managers can focus on the client relationships. Does that sound like we're on the right track here? Let me know if that's how you're leaning or if there's another angle I should consider.
I think so. I think for our situation, we could probably handle a few more hybrid folks. And then once we're probably at 3 or 4 more, then we'll probably specialize into the distinct project manager, account manager roles.
All right, that makes perfect sense. So basically you're saying, for now, let's keep it simple. You want to bring in a few more of these hybrid folks who can still do a bit of both. That way you spread out the workload, and once you've got a few more hands on deck, you can later decide to split them into more specialized roles if you need to. So here's how I'm thinking about it. We'll put together a job description for a hybrid account project manager type. We'll keep the title straightforward. We'll list out responsibilities that cover both managing client relationships and coordinating delivery. We'll note that they need to be comfortable juggling both and that over time there might be a chance to specialize. And we'll keep the personality traits and heels pretty clear and no nonsense. So if that's the plan, I think we're ready to roll into those 4 parts: title, responsibilities, personality traits, and skills. Let me know if you want to add anything else before we lock it in.
Nope, good to go. I think the only thing to confirm is that skills and experiences, if you can break them out into 2 categories, one is a nice to have skills experiences versus another is a have to have.
Absolutely no problem at all. We'll keep it nice and simple. So let's do it. Let's just call it a hybrid accountant project manager, straightforward and to the point. Responsibilities, they'll be managing client relationships and also handling the delivery coordination in Asana. Basically, they're going to keep clients happy while making sure all the tasks are on track. Personality traits, we're looking for someone who's organized, easy to talk to, and not going to get flustered juggling both sides of the role. No big words cheated there, just someone who can keep a cool head and is good with people and details. Skills and experiences, we'll break it down into must-haves and nice-to-haves, just like you asked. Must-haves, they got to have some experience in client-facing roles and know their way around project management tools like Asana. Nice-to-haves, maybe they worked in staffing or a similar field before, or they've got a bit of extra experience with both client management and delivery. So there you go. Short and sweet, no fluff, no fancy stuff. Let me know if that works for you.
Perfect, thank you.
You're super welcome. Glad that we're trio, awesome. And of course, if you need anything else, just let me know.
Okay, great. So now we have, that's awesome. So we have the title, responsibilities, everything we need to actually make a job description. And so now what we're going to do is ChatGPT is just easy to talk to and best to kind of like design this out for you. We just did this in 5 minutes. But the best in terms of writing it is going to be Claude. So we're going to take this, we're going to copy paste this, dump it into Claude to come up with a job description that stands out in the sea of this sounds like it's going to be a project manager role. in a sea of project manager roles using Claude's copywriting principles, so we can get 2 to 3x the number of applicants that we would if we just posted like this. Anyway, we'll dump it into Claude. Okay, great. So we just did in ChatGPT, we had the job description. The good news is if you have the desktop version of ChatGPT, your phone and your desktop are synced up. And so now that I just spoke into it, we can just take this, copy paste it, and drop it into Claude. So I think the risk here is it's going to look pretty simple. I could ask ChatGPT to build it out more, but let's try it first, see if this works like this. If not, we'll just kind of ask Chat to further refine this before we drop in the Claude. So I just copied the title, responsibilities, personality traits you're looking for, all that kind of stuff, and dropping it into Claude. So I have a job description writer. I'll leave the prompt in this description below, but it's just all it is it's just a template that we use from we stole this from the ads we do on the marketing side and use copywriting principles from there to actually make the job description so it stands out in a sea of just such boring job ads. So anyway, I'll leave this in the description so you can get this too if you want this for yourself. So I just copied this from ChatGPT. I'm pasting it in here, and let's see what happens. Okay. Good. So part of the prompt I put in here is, hey, don't make anything up. Ask me things. And so these are the questions that are left. Okay. So I'm going to use. I have a tool called Whisper Flow that I can speak into it, and so you'll hear me just speak to the computer instead of typing it back. Let's read this out loud together into it. So company name, industry. Okay. Number 1, the company is Talent HQ and the industry is staffing or recruiting. Number 2, company website. We can skip that research. You can go on without it. Number 3, specific opportunity, key responsibilities. Can you suggest the responsibilities? And we'll look at it in a second. Tell me if you're correct. 4, required skills. Can you also suggest these? Actually, let's keep going. For number 4 and number 5, can you suggest the skills and qualifications, also the nice to have skills? And we'll take a look and see if you're correct. For 6, compensation range, I want you to put $1,500 a month to $2,000 a month. Time zone for overlap, EST, business hours. Yeah, that's fine. We're remote, so EST business hours is okay. What time zone? Any additional benefits beyond remote work? No. What's it, the skill I care about the most for that? I care. So for number 9, I care the most about attention to detail and client relationship builder. So they have to be heavy, detail oriented, but also personable enough to build relationships with clients. See if this works. Yep. Boom. Okay. All right. Let's see what Claude says. All right. Here it is. Here's our job description. Okay. So some differences you notice from here from a typical job description. You'll see, I call this job ads. Typical job description, people just dump so much into the intro. We want this to hook the reader, right? So there's thousands of project manager roles. We want to stand out in that crowd, and the best way to do that is to have an intro that people actually read as opposed to just a dump of just the all the responsibilities. So this sounds correct. Role details, correct. Upsell opportunities. This is going to be more for our CSMs, but okay, we'll leave it because I want them thinking that way. But no, I'm going to delete this. This is more for our CSMs. So when I copy paste this over to post in LinkedIn, I'm going to delete this section. Okay, you'll fit in right if you're a detail detective, people magnet, juggling pro. These are kind of cheesy, but they get the point, so it's okay with it. Deadline guardian, a little cheesy, but we'll leave it. 3 years in client-facing roles, that's fine. Actually, I'll move this down to 2. I think we're okay with 2.
2 years using, because if it's the bigger the filter, the more we filter out people who are really good. And so I want to do 2 years. Project management tools, we don't care. We can teach you Asana in an hour. It's not that hard. So we'll delete this. Strong communication or skills, yes. Ability, yes. Stakeholder management, yes. That's become more important. The more that, and I think we're gonna have to. I don't think we'll put this in the resume. I think we'll have to, because if you have experience doing client management, you probably have experience doing stakeholder management. But it's a hard skill, and so we'll probably have to tease that out in the interview. But the further along we get in the business, the more we realize how important this is to keep clients happy. Okay. Nice to have. Agree. Nice to have. Agree. Nice to have. Agree. Nice to have. I could delete these honestly, but that's okay. Looks good. Looks good. Our talent HQ. Yep. Yep. Looks good. Cool. Looks good. So this, other than those two changes we talked about, we'll copy paste this into LinkedIn, and we got our job description ready to go. Now, since this is just an example, we're not going to actually make it live on LinkedIn, but we're at the point now where hopefully you have enough that you can just copy paste this yourself and get going. I'll leave the link in the description for the project details or the prompt that enabled Claude to do this. You can do this if you don't have Claude. You can do this in ChatGPT. It's just I found it better in Claude. So yeah, link in the description for all the details. Cool. One thing I highly recommend is Loom videos. So it can be any async video. Sometimes we just get someone sending us videos on a phone. But if you can get someone before you hop on the phone, because we get a lot of applicants, like I mentioned, we get on average 2,000 applicants a role. Having folks submit a 2 to 3 minute Loom video that just explains why they're interested in the role, why them, etc. One, people who don't want to put in effort won't, kicks out a lot of people. Two is you can hear how eloquent they are, if they can speak well, and if that's important to you, that's helpful. But not only just the eloquence of them literally speaking, but you can hear them think. And hearing them think is so important for getting someone who is a thinker, can like work on their own. A lot of people, some people will, it's very helpful to know that some people will just plug in the questions you ask in ChatGPT and read it off ChatGPT, and it's so easy to tell. And now it's not a bad thing that they use ChatGPT, it's just a bad thing that they don't know how to adapt it to the real world. Right? And so it's a great way to kick people out. You can judge how professional they are and just kind of watch their energy all in just like a minute or two. And now we don't have to get on the phone and spend hours in interviews. You can kind of get an initial pass at folks by asking for a Loom video. So definitely ask for some kind of video with a few questions that are important to you. So big picture, our process, once folks come in from LinkedIn, is 1, review the resumes. 2, look at the Loom videos. 3, we'll interview them. And 4, depending on the role, sometimes extra context, we'll add a test. There's attention to detail tests, personality tests, role-specific tests. Just depends on what you need. But let's get into kind of how you weed through these, because weeding through these in the right way, that doesn't take up a lot of time, but also tells me who is a good fit for your business, is so important. So 1, with the resume scan. So the most important thing here is job hopping. If you see someone who just spends a few months at one company, jumps to a different company for a few months and jumps somewhere else, assume they'll do the same for you. So I have here exception contract work. It kind of depends. And so it's not as simple as saying, hey, if their resume changes roles every 3 months, skip them. You have to get a little bit of context. And so as an example, I spoke to someone 2 days ago who it looked like their resume was job hopping, but it was really because they were in college and they just had internships, but then they have night shifts while they were in college, but now they're looking for more of a longer term full-time role. That context is helpful. Or they may have a few gigs where they're balancing 3 clients at a time. And in that case, if you're looking for someone who can do part-time client type work, great, that's a good fit for you. If you need someone full-time, you have to make sure they are full-time on you. And so the context is helpful, But most of the time, if you see job hopping, it's not a good fit. They'll probably job hop with you too. The other thing in the resume is you look at how they explain their roles. So, for example, if they don't talk about it at all, if they say, here, the example I give here is if they managed various projects, that tells me they're not a deep thinker because they haven't thought through what that means to manage various projects. But if they get specific, specificity is key, both in resumes and interviews. If they get specific and they say, I delivered $500,000 in value, but I managed $500,000 worth of clients and hit 93% success rate, whatever. That's going to be the other extreme end of that's a good fit. That's a person who knows what they're talking about. Specificity always wins. People who are general in resumes and interviews are not going to be a good candidate. People who are specific are. Lastly, attention to detail. You can easily tell in the resume if they have bad spacing, it's not organized, not formatted well. If the resume is like the most important document that they're going to have during their job hunt, if using the most important document during that period of time, if that's poorly formatted, your client deliverables are going to be poorly formatted. So now, quick tip, when you're going through the looms and the resumes, remember at the beginning where we got clarity on the business needs. That is king, because when you're going through the interviews, your gut will tell you to go with someone who is more similar to you. The more similar they are to you, the more you want to hire them. But a lot of times you need talent who's the opposite of you. So as an example for me, I have ADHD, I'm high energy, and that means I'm also low attention to detail. I need a project manager with high attention to detail. It's going to be a completely different personality type than mine. And so while we were interviewing for our account manager, project manager role in-house, I was very biased towards the high energy, quick moving people. But my COO looked at me and was like, we need the opposite of you, Brian. We need someone who's very high detail oriented. And so I went against my gut and chose someone who compliments me as opposed to is more like me. That was one of the best decisions I made in a while. Okay, so how do we interview? This is my favorite style of interview. Now, reminder, it depends on what level you're hiring for. This video is more for entry level, more roles that you need at scale, right? Account managers, project managers, sales reps, etc. Not for senior leadership of your agency. The reason I say that is because the interview process is going to be different for a senior leader than it is for a account manager, project manager, etc. The way we do this is, one, you want to verify the background. Why? Because people make up their background. Don't trust it on their resume. So how do you tell if someone's making up their background? Ask them questions about it in depth. If you ask them for specifics and they didn't do it, the specifics stop to make sense pretty quickly. So make sure to ask them, just say, hey, I want you to tell me more about your last role. Give me a specific metric and a specific example of a project that you did. Tell me about it. And then they'll start to tell you about it. Ask them go deeper. If you go 2 levels deeper and they can't answer it, they made it up. If they can, congrats, they haven't made up their background. The other one is motivation. This one's very important. And so there's one of my favorite questions is actually the simplest question, which is, why do you want this job? If the reason is logistical, a lot of people will say, I want this job because I need a remote job, right? I want this job because I need an increase in payment. That's not a fit, because then they just need a job. They're not motivated by it. They're not excited by it. If instead a winning answer for this is something where they say something like, I felt capped in my last job and I wanted to learn more. If they feel capped and they're excited, right? And you can ask them questions about like, what do they want to learn? What are they doing in their free time to learn more about that thing? If they can really like nerd out on it and they want to grow and they want to use their current platform doesn't enable them to grow and your platform will enable them to learn more and grow more, then that's a good fit. If it's logistical, for example, they just want a remote job, that's not a good fit. Last one is a culture fit. And logistics. Logistics is quick. It should take a minute or two. Right? Just confirm that they uh, that the salary range makes sense. Confirm that they can start the time you need them to start. But the culture fit is you have a culture at your company. Maybe it's speed is king. You guys operate fast. You need to make sure that the person knows the culture they're getting into and that they can add to it and that they're not burned out by it. So as an example, we move fast. And so we had a writer join our company and she was overwhelmed by how quickly we were moving. She wasn't used to it. And so she ended up not being a fit. If up front we had pushed her more on just being so clear, this is not a easy role, it's a fast-paced role, it would have scared her away. But someone who loves that fast-paced environment would have been a better fit. And boom, we have a better fit for the company. And so make sure you don't just accept anyone. You have to only accept people who are a good fit for you and your company. Great. Now, once you've chosen, you've interviewed a few folks, and you've decided on who you want to go with. It is important. That is the first kind of interaction you have with this person. You want to set the tone, and so I like to make a call. I know a lot of people just send an email and be done with it. Even if it's a 5-minute call, a 10-minute call, or just say, honestly, congrats, super excited to bring you on. Wanted to reach out personally to have a conversation with you to let you know that here's why we're excited about you and why you should join our company. It means a lot. It goes a long way. And so don't be impersonal. Don't just send an email. Even like I have a recruiting agency, and I usually recommend we could do it for you. But I think if you run the agency, it's a 5-minute call. Just give them a call and say, hey, congrats, you got the role. Excited to have you on. So, okay. So once you've chosen, time to structure the contract. I like having a short-term contract followed by a long-term contract. So think of a trial period. So before you just do an indefinite contract, I like to do, say, a 3-month trial followed by, if that goes well, let's renew, have a conversation, reset expectations, then do a 12-month contract. I wouldn't lock in right away until you have a good relationship, and especially because agencies change so much so quickly that if you try to set KPIs and expectations up front, like the KPIs may be different 3 months from now than they are today. And so getting a quick little trial run before you lock in for 12 months is useful. Then the other one is incentives. This depends on how long you've had your agency and how predictable it is at this point. If you have benchmarks, like so let's say you have a setter coming in, and hey, all our setter team bangs out 100 touch points a day. They book 5 to 10 calls a week. That's a well-oiled machine. I know that that's predictable using our systems. Then you can have incentives. If you don't have that yet and you're kind of figuring stuff out, I wouldn't put incentives yet. You could, but the incentives will change over time, and it's just going to be hard to track. So one option is to add in incentives like later, 3 to 6 months down the line, once you have kind of more concrete metrics. But it depends on the maturity of your agency. Lastly, contracts. I am not a lawyer. I have our own contracts. My favorite one is from Deal here. Let's see. I can put this link in the template. I'm not sponsored, but I just like their contract. And so if you go to Deal's contract for contractors, it's an agreement that is pretty straightforward, in my opinion. You can steal this. and just change it to fit your own needs. Here highlighted is the areas that you need to change. Cool. I'll put the link in the description. Great. So if you want your dream hire, you have two options. One is you can do it yourself. It says 1 to 2 weeks. It's really probably around 3 weeks. But just follow this 5-step system and you should be in a good spot. If you don't want to do it yourself, I'll put the link in the description to chat with me or someone from my team and we can handle it for you. Thanks for watching. YouTube really seems to think that you'll love this video next, so check it out and let's see if they're right.